Hey everyone, welcome to the Powered by Iron Health podcast. Today we got my friend here, LaRoy from from Iron Camp. Actually, it's a good collab we're doing here, Iron Health, Iron Camp.
Yeah.
What's up, man?
How you doing?
Good, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah,
We're gonna
yeah.
have some fun.
Absolutely.
So I always like to start about like your story. Like, how did you build? What is Iron Camp? Like, how did you build it? Where did you start it from, and what that process was?
So Iron Camp is we call it a performance enhancement facility initially, right? Aggressive name, so we just drop that part. We're a fitness studio. We do personal training, strength training, and our focus is on that. Located in Greenwich, Connecticut. I always had like a background in sports, right? So I had the general, athlete, ex-athlete, trainer, commercial gym, and then studio.
Yeah.
So basically, I just wanted to have a facility where, we can focus on strength for everybody, not just like, oh, it's a spot for athletes or there's just a spot for bodybuilders. We want, everybody strong from all the way down from 7th grade to like 85 or 90, right? We find a right to get them strong and get them better.
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
So your trajectory, you were an athlete. I mean, I know your story for people who don't know
Yeah.
you.
So I
What
played football, high school football. I was lucky enough to play in college for a little bit. I played way too long. I played semi-pro football. Up until,
That's like
29.
torturous.
It's literally torture.
Where'd you play around here? I didn't even know.
I played in the Bronx. We had a team in the Bronx, Bronx Bandits, and we traveled, tri-state, Puerto Rico, West Coast. Like we traveled a lot.
Did you play the Seminoles?
You played the Brooklyn. So
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah,
That's funny.
I was gonna curse. It just almost came out. Podcast we got.
Bronx versus Brooklyn at that point.
Yeah, that was fun. No, we played the Seminoles. I played on the Rebels for a little bit. That was the team out in Queens.
Okay.
So funny enough that you mentioned them. I'm a Florida State fan.
Yeah.
I always kind of low key like their uniforms.
Okay, gotcha. That's so funny.
Then once I kind of stopped playing semi-pro football, my training took a turn. I kind of uptaked on what I really wanted to do in terms of myself, and then got a little more focused and broadened my education in terms of my work and personal training, and really went all in and got it going like immediately from there.
Yeah. So is that when you went to a commercial gym? Right?
Yeah. So I went to I started off a commercial gym, big box gym. So I was lucky enough to be around a bunch of people, right? So you could talk to clients, engage. There's always an influx. So it was a great way to build, your business first initially.
Yeah.
And I was able to build like a really good base, like a really strong base. And, once I was tired of the commercial gym split, I worked at a couple of studios, took my base and worked at a couple of studios and really great facilities. But at a certain point, you look at the rent that you're paying them and like I could pay my own rent at that point. And then I opened up my own place and was able to keep 100% and work it out from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you like it? Do you like owning your own spot?
Yeah, I like it as mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the cool part. Whether it's lucky enough I fell into fitness, but like whether it's my own gym, my own garage, my own whatever is mine.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the drive and the fun part of it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Did
Yeah.
you know that you always wanted to go that way, or it's like you just took the natural steps of a trainer?
So, I guess for me as a trainer, like I had like a far away, like, oh, it'd be really cool to own my own gym one day.
Yeah.
But you don't really know what that means when you start. So in my head, I had, it's going to be like a big commercial gym and meatheads and chains and dumbbells and all that stuff. And then, as you get into your business, you find your niche, you find, where your kind of base is going, then it turns into whatever it turns into.
Yeah.
And so I'll say like once I started working in studios and seeing how they ran their studios, and I'm like, all right, this is something that's like kind of attainable and close. I can manage this. And then, I picked out the way I do things and set up my niche and opened up my own studio.
So what's your biggest niche now? I know you said it's like anyone who wants to be
So,
strength training.
I mean, it's going to be, just from a general perspective of personal training, it's going to be mostly women because, we know everything. So unless you're an athlete, right? Whereas it's kind of like down the line and mix, outside of athletes, it's going to be mostly women because they're more open to kind of being coached because they're willing to learn. So it's going to be mostly women. And then largely athletes, high school. And then for classes, it's kind of like young adults, we'll say like like early 30s, like late 20s.
Mhm.
It's late 20s. That's kind of how the base goes.
Nice. When you like, what were some of the biggest challenges you had opening your own business?
Just the education behind it, like running a business, right? Because you're good at training doesn't mean you're good at business.
Yeah.
So I'll say, luckily enough, I was around two people who had their own, well, three actually, who had their own space where you kind of pick good and bad. And, it was a situation where I was able to kind of talk and bounce, have conversations with, so I could learn some things that helped me avoid a lot of other pitfalls that I could have fell into. But, I took the approach of kind of like working somewhere small and hopefully growing out of it, as opposed to working to build it up. So, going that route kind of helped the process along in terms of like building the gym.
Yeah.
Like the actual getting people in and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's always the hardest part, man.
Yeah.
It's always the unknown of being a business owner, right?
Yeah, but it's fun. Like it's that drive. It's like, you have to hustle, you have to work, you can't get complacent because everything is on you. So, that part of it, like, I worked at a 9 to 5 where it's like, go in, clock out, and it's like a monotonous kind of thing. This keeps the brain loosened and working because you have to, it has to be successful because it's yours.
You gotta eat.
You gotta eat.
What was your 9 to 5? Was it?
So I worked at Morgan Stanley. I ran a creative department there. So basically, it's like print shop, PowerPoints and things like that. So I managed the group, like 20 people or so. It's a fancy print shop.
Yeah, in Morgan Stanley.
In Morgan, yeah.
So you guys just made PowerPoints.
Yeah, and made PowerPoints, print out pitch books, things like that. It was the production department. So they had meetings, they send the spreadsheets down to us, fix up the spreadsheets, in a way that makes sense because they come with their paper. Then we took it down to the print portion and we print out the product for their meetings and pitches.
There's 20 people in that whole department.
Yeah, it's 20 people, 3 shifts because, it's Morgan. So we work, we had a morning shift, we had an overnight shift for overseas. We had the afternoon shift. And I was probably one of the younger ones, in that whole office. So I was always interested in managing people older than you.
Yeah.
But it worked out. I got a lot of good experience there. But again, it's monotonous, right? You have to ask permission to take a day off and, it's the same kind of thing every day.
Yeah.
So I was happy to get out of that.
Yeah, that's an interesting transition from Morgan Stanley creative to being a gym owner.
It is from a work perspective, right? But like luckily enough, it wasn't like a foreign area of business for me. Like I've been in the gym since I was like 13, right? So at least I was like had some kind of base level knowledge of that. Like if I tried to open up an auto body shop, it'd probably be a different kind of process. But because I had some background in fitness, maybe not coaching, but definitely fitness, you kind of like use that information and get your education behind it, and then build it from there.
Very cool. Why'd you pick Greenwich? Like, how'd you land there?
So my boy was in Greenwich, way back when I had a real job, and he tried, you gotta come out to Greenwich and be a trainer. I was like, nah, I got a job, not trying to be a trainer. And then the market crashed in 2008, and I didn't have a job.
Oh wow! So you lost your job then?
Yeah.
Oh wow!
So I lost it. But luckily I was in a good space, so I was able to kind of take a year off. Well, I'm gonna say year. Start of was I'm gonna take a year off because the first one didn't work.
Yeah.
I was kind of fine relatively in terms of like bills and whatnot and food. So I was like, I'll take this year off and like kind of chill out. A year was like maybe like 6 months. I gotta do something.
Yeah.
And then I started personal training. I worked as a floor trainer in Greenwich, Connecticut, in New York Sports Club, and just chucked it along, built it slowly.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's not cool you got laid off, but
such as
how many people?
It worked out.
That's true. It's true. That's the positive. But how many people in that department did get the boot? Like a lot, probably.
Yeah, it was 2008, right? It was crazy in that area when that whole market crashed. So it wasn't a great time, but like luckily I wasn't like 23, 24, something like that.
Young
and
enough
around
to
that
bounce
age,
back.
so it was, and it's like I had a family and kids, and like I couldn't imagine that scenario. So I was for the most part like just me.
Yeah.
Right. So I was kind of able to move. I wouldn't say easily, but like manageably when it was done. So, it's stressful for a lot of people, but for me, it's kind of kept it moving. It wasn't that terrible, or as bad as it could be.
Yeah, that's good. And
Yeah.
you found your passion from that.
Yeah.
That's when you lived in the Bronx too.
Yeah. That's when I lived in the Bronx, and nice, easy commute. You could walk right to the train station.
Yeah,
You know, I didn't even get a car until the market crashed. Because no point.
that's so crazy.
Yeah,
So your whole like young adulthood, you didn't have a car.
Nah. I just used my mom and my dad's car. Like, I just, take the train everywhere.
Yeah,
Like,
I did too.
Yeah, it was one of the points.
It's the borough life.
Working winter is like, I gotta get out here. I'm not gonna take the train, so I got a car and then sort it out.
That's a wild story. It's a wild transition to get to where you at.
Yeah, it is interesting when you really talk about it, because when you're in it, you're just like, this is next up, this is next up, this is next step. So even when you look back, that doesn't seem that crazy until like people say, "Oh, that's kind of crazy." Like, I guess it is.
How did you navigate COVID then? Because that was another that's like a 2008, but now you're doing business. Right?
Again, it's just being born at the right time is helpful, right? So obviously when the gym shut down, it was tough, but Facebook came out when I was in college, right? So like social media is pretty easy in terms of managing. So I was like, all right, well, and then just even like getting on the video. So, what we did, we created a video library on a website, posted a bunch of workouts, yoga, and things like that. So people who are in home had a place to go to and subscribe to. And then, Zoom was big in terms of like one-on-one personal training. So we kept that going. So we kept everything kind of like chugging along. I came, just for mental health reasons, I came down to the gym. I did my Zooms instead of staying at home.
Yeah.
Right? So I had like a regular work day for the most part, right? And I recorded videos, made content, just so you kind of keep things going. And then, luckily made it out of it. But yeah, that was a tough time for COVID.
That's what I'm saying. That's an interesting.
Yeah.
We all been through it. That was like one of the craziest times we've been through so far. And like as a business owner, you're out there.
Yeah, but it's again being on the right time, being born at the right time is helpful.
Yeah. What do you mean by that? Being born
so is a lot of people who are, let's say, like 10 years old, are just not as comfortable using social media or like the internet and things like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe like 20 years old and then they're stuck. They can't really expand or transition out of it, or you kind of pivot out. So, for me, it was a good opportunity to kind of pivot to, all right, we'll add this other part to my business, whereas we have the remote training and, online videos and really ramping up the social media. So it was an opportunity. It ended up being an opportunity because you don't know when it's in it.
Sure, for sure.
So it ended up being an opportunity, and it, a lot of it because I was just so comfortable using it. Whereas, unfortunately, like if you're 6, 7, 8 years, so I'm before this year. So like if you're like 50, 60, 65, you had a gym for years, and then it shuts down, like, social media.
It's true. It's a good point.
So it's tricky at that point. So I think that's a fortunate thing.
Do you guys still do a lot of online stuff? Or
Yeah, still a lot of online stuff. Obviously, not the library's there already. We have enough content on the library to kind of go in, and usually we have clients that go on vacation, and they'll pop into a library, use like the home workouts, the commercial gym workouts, a few ebooks and stuff like that going too. So still up there.
Yeah, it's became like another leg of businesses to have that now, right?
Yeah.
Like you're saying, like that's like we live in a digital era, and I know so many trainers PTs too, like just left their profession during COVID, just bounced. It was just like, hey, what am I going to do now?
It's tough, right? Especially PT because it works kind of differently. I mean, it doesn't have to, but a lot of times it works kind of differently than like a commercial gym. Whereas like a lot of you guys aren't on like the internet saying, oh, you can do X, Y, Z. Now you see a lot more of it.
Yeah, it's happening.
But like before, it wasn't really the case.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's an interesting world. But now it also dilutes the pool of how many people you can get, right?
Absolutely,
because everyone wants to
go
that
internet,
route,
right? It's the internet, so like there's 100 million like information, right? Once you have access to information, how do you decipher what's good and bad?
Yep.
So hopefully we have more educated consumers that kind of pick out good and bad. But there's always snake oil salesmen that kind of muddy the waters a little bit, but. It's the nature of getting into the social media or internet or, Do
you think you can get the same results online as you can in person, though?
It depends on the individual. Yeah. So I'll say the people, I have remote clients, right? So I'll say the people that train remotely, they have a better investment into what they want to get out of the gym, right? It goes past like, I just want to be generally healthy, right? It's like, I got this problem with the meat. I'm trying to build some muscle. I'm trying to so it's real specific, these goals they have. So, and you have to have some kind of discipline if you're doing remote training, right? Whereas, you know, people come to the gym, it's like, hey, listen, I just want to get in shape, you know, I just want to pick up my kids or, you know, like, you know, run around and stuff like that. The goals is different in terms of what they want out of it.
Yeah.
But once you get to the remote, you know, they're reaching out saying, I got my gym. I work out 5 times a week or 4 times a week. You know, I just need a program to stay on track. So I've hit like a plateau where I'm really trying to get these numbers. So the remote clients that I have, they usually have more investment into getting more out of that fitness.
They're more self-driven.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I can do a remote PT because I'm a very hands-on PT. So
yeah, I mean, like obviously, like you want to get the most hands-on, right?
Yeah.
Even like coaching is like it's easier to correct form if I just see it right there, as opposed to waiting for the video and breaking it down and sending it back. But it's another avenue, right? Better to have it than not have it.
It's very, very true.
Yeah.
What's your goals with Iron Camp? Where do you want to take it?
I mean, you know, there's always growth. You know, the goal is to grow and, you know, outgrow whatever space I'm in currently, and even if I get a bigger space, outgrow that space or, you know, franchise. The goal is like to get something bigger, right? And to keep it going. So, you know, I could like, hey, listen, you know, employ family or like, you know, give it away or something like that. You know, it's yours at the end of the day. So just growth is always the goal.
How many?
Growth.
Do you want to get to a certain amount of spots? Do you know or no?
I don't have the end number. So I like I know what eventually I want to take it in the future, but like I'm so at the moment focused. Yeah. I try not to look too far ahead of that. So like at the moment it's just like trying to get the evening classes going. You know, so like it's so like at the moment.
Yeah.
Not that I'm losing sight of what's further in front, but you know, best place for me to be is present. You know, and then kind of build and grow from there.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
My mind doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
I'm so like focused over there. You know, like I'm a futurist. That's my new thing.
That's dope. Yeah.
Think about the future.
Yeah, like short-term future.
Yeah.
like I'm just a little bit ahead guy.
Hey, whatever works, man.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to know more about Iron Camp or where to find you guys, where
so we're on all the socials, theironcamp.com, on all of them. Me personally, if you want to see me work out, first name, last name, LaRoy Warner, all the socials. But all my clients, all like the real educational stuff is on the Iron Camp on the gym page. Try to share as much information as possible, give as much free game as we can. You know, you want more stuff, gotta pay for it.
Of course, love it. All right, guys. Well, if you like this, follow LaRoy here, Iron Camp, Greenwich, Connecticut.
Awesome.
Thanks for watching.
All right.